Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. I do apologize for the lack of updates over the last few days, guys. It's been a very busy week for us. The last 5 days or so has been extremely busy. We're down at our place down south, and we're doing some construction, so you guys might hear some pounding noises in the background. I apologize if you do. But anyway, guys, want to bring you an update on Bitcoin. Bitcoin to the US dollar, 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And Bitcoin continues to operate within this larger wedge here, guys. We had this major breakout that we discussed the other day. We discussed why we had this breakout. We had this breakout due to two reasons. We had, of course, this massive stop hunt for shorts, so the massive short squeeze, and we also had that tether news. And that tether news, I don't want to ignore, guys. I don't want to get on it. As I said last time, I don't want to spread any FUD or anything else, but we can't ignore what happened here. If this was not an organic move. Yes, it was a bullish move, and yes, we ended up settling higher than the starting point. So that's a bullish indication, guys. But this was not organic. This was a stop hunt, a short squeeze, and this was also a measure or a reaction to people getting out of Tether. So what happened? People, of course, the fears of Tether rumors started to circulate. People got scared. People that were in Tether. So what did they end up doing? They and whether or not those rumors are founded, it's not for me to say. I leave that up to you. Nonetheless, people got scared, and when they did, they transferred out of Tether. So what happens when you transfer out of Tether? You buy Bitcoin. So we had this major spike in price with Bitcoin going up, and then we had the major sell-off. Now, it ended up, as I said, settling higher than the starting point, but why did we have this sell-off? Well, we had the sell-off for a couple of reasons. One, people transferred from Tether to Bitcoin, major price and spike, or major price spike, I should say. Sorry, guys, can't talk right now. And then they had this major sell-off. So they transferred into Bitcoin, and then from Bitcoin, they transferred to fiat, and of course, that caused the price to drop. We also had a very, very interesting thing, guys. Interesting thing happened. We come over here and we look at shorts. Let me go here to the 4-hour chart. So we had this major price spike, and when that happened, we had short positions get liquidated, as you would expect. Shorts got knocked off the board here. But something very interesting happened. Shorts got knocked off the board. Typically, when that happens, and you get that hike, that spike in price, typically in the past, we've seen long positions stack. Anytime you've got price going up, long positions start to stack. People think this could be the bull run, and they start wanting to buy. We had the opposite happen. We had longs drop. That's the first time I've seen that happen in a very, 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 very long time. So longs actually dropped. This significant. This is very significant. I don't hear anybody talking about it. This means retail investors are getting smarter, much, much, much smarter. They bought Bitcoin, and they took their profits right away. They did what day traders do. They bought Bitcoin, price spiked, they took their profits, said thank you very much. So rather than, like we've seen all of this year, we've seen these guppy rallies. We've seen market makers, price comes down, market makers buy the price down, buy Bitcoin down here, push price up a little bit. Everyone, a bunch of guppies, they call these guppy rallies. A bunch of guppies, I call them suckers. A bunch of suckers end up thinking that this could be it. This is the bull run, so they end up buying. They push this price up even more. Market makers, that gets up to the point to where the market makers think they can't push it up any higher. Market makers sell, and the guppies end up holding the bags, and they hold it all the way down, and then they end up selling down low. Market makers end up buying down here. They do the same thing again. Of course, there are less suckers this time, because every time you burn somebody, there are less victims. There are less people that are willing to get burned or willing to take the risk. And of course, we saw that all year as momentum just died off, till eventually we're just moving sideways here, just literally moving sideways. With just there's just no guppies left. There's no suckers left to fool. And so different tactics have to end up taking place. So we're seeing retail get smart. Retail thinks that this thing is going to go much lower. At the very least, they're not going to fall for the same tricks again. But if we look at short positions, we're seeing shorts start to stack again rather significantly. Now, not to where they were before, but we're getting there if this continues. Now, this suggests longs are dropping, shorts are rising. This suggests that retail thinks this thing is going to go much lower. We know that if you learn nothing from listening to me, you know that trading is a zero-sum game. For somebody to win, somebody else has to lose. So what do you think market makers are going to do right now? Well, to make money, if everybody believes it's going to go short, to make money, they've got to bring price up. Now, what might end up happening is we might see price drop to a lower level, wanting to trap people even further into their short positions. So wanting shorts to stack even higher than they're stacked at right now. So to do that, market makers might bring price down a little bit. Possibly. So the zone I'm watching this 62.35, 63.60, somewhere in here, guys. This is where I'd be stacking in buy orders. This is where I do have some buy orders stacked in here at 62.35. This is where I'd be watching here, but knowing that if this does break, if 62.35 does break, we could be coming down to much lower prices very, very quickly. I believe that the people that held on to their positions, that bought down here and held on to their positions, I believe their stop losses are sitting somewhere around 61.15, somewhere below this wick or this wick here. Somewhere right in here is where their stop losses are. So why do I bring that up? I bring that up because if price ends up collapsing below 61.15, those stop losses get triggered. That's gonna create a snowball effect that could bring price to new 2018 lows very, 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 very quickly. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not trying to spread any FUD. I'm just saying. I mean, I've even got buy orders stacked here. So again, I do believe there's a good chance we're going to get a significant bounce here if price does drop down here. And I'm not saying it's even going to. We could see price end up spiking here very, very soon. I'm just saying if that does happen, this is where I'd stack my buy orders, but I would have a very tight stop loss sitting either around 61.40 to 61.15. This is where I'd have my stop losses stacked, guys, knowing that if price does break below that, it could get ugly very quickly. Now, if we look at this pattern here, this is a rather bearish looking pattern right here. This slow rise that we've had since we had this major rise in price, major correction, and then we've just had this kind of slow rise in price here over the last few days. That's typically a rather bearish sign. Typically, with a healthy correction, you want to see kind of a even though I'm not a fan of Elliott wave in low volume markets, I love it in high volume markets, but in low volume markets, you want to see kind of a correction like this, something like this, and you really haven't seen it. It's just been a slow kind of trickle up. Typically, that breaks down. But I'm not convinced it's going to, and here's why. Obviously, we're seeing price pressed up against the top of this outer wedge here. I do still believe that this outer wedge, this overall wedge, is valid. We're seeing price respected, even though we had this major breakout. This was a massive short squeeze on top of that tether news. So it was not an organic breakout. In other words, doesn't mean it's not bullish. You know, we settled higher than where we started, so it is still bullish. But it's not as bullish as it would be had this just been an organic breakout. It was not. It was manipulation and fears over tether. So that has to be factored in when you're looking at this, and that's what I told you last time. That's what makes this so hard to analyze, guys. It makes it so hard to analyze, and I'm probably the only analyst that'll be honest enough to tell you that. But what we could see, if I zoom in here to the hourly, what I am seeing is if we go point to point. Actually, let me bring price up here. There we go. If we go point to point, we created a higher low, obviously right here. If I look at the RSI, on the hourly RSI, we created a lower low. This was a small little uptrend here. We're looking at the bottom of this. That is hidden bullish divergence. So that would suggest we should get a small increase in price. Now we're not seeing that on the MACD. We're only seeing it on the hourly, which suggests that you got to take that into account. If this is on a higher time frame, I would expect a more significant move. On the hourly, we'll see how it ends up playing out. We could just get a little rise here, another bounce off the top of this ascending support of this wedge. But still, it could end up breaking up. That's very, very possible, guys. And especially with shorts being stacked to this high, it's just a matter of, do market makers want to liquidate those shorts now, or do they want to wait and try to trap people in try to increase shorts even higher and trap people even into their short positions even more than they are now. Now we'll wait and see if that ends up happening, guys. But right now it's extremely interesting. So what I'm going to be watching, obviously I'm watching this level here, 62.35, stacking in buy orders with a very, very tight stop loss, knowing that things could collapse and get ugly very quickly if that does happen. To the upside, I'm obviously watching to see if we can break out of this wedge, start consolidating outside of this wedge. That would be bullish in and of itself, but I'm really watching to see if we can break above 65.40. That's a very significant zone, as I've told you guys for a very long time. If we can break above 65.40 and start consolidating above that, that's going to be a very bullish sign. If we come over here and we look at the daily chart, and factor in volume profile. If we look at volume profile, this is looking over the last couple months here. We can see if you're not familiar with volume profile, I would look it up, but basically it just shows you where the price point where the majority of trading has taken place. So that is right here at about 64.40, somewhere thereabouts, and that's about exactly where we are right now. That's called the point of control. We can see it's right here. It's called the point of control. Typically, if you're above that point of control, that's a very bullish sign. That usually indicates a bullish momentum. If you're below it, it usually indicates bearish momentum. So if we can break above that, guys, that's going to be a rather bullish sign, and we'll wait and see if we can, if that momentum can continue. But coming off of this move, where price came up, ended up consolidating higher than the starting point. If we can do that again, start consolidating at least above 65.40, but if we can get above 67.50 and take out this prior high of this wick and start consolidating at above that, that's going to be extremely, extremely bullish. We can see that this wick didn't take out the prior high, even though it came up and it changed this trend. I mean, the trend was just we get a retrace to about the 618 fib level, and then we get a breakdown. We got this changed that trend, where we came up to almost creating a perfect double top here. And then, of course, it collapsed down. If we can come up and break above that and start consolidating above that zone, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign, guys, extremely bullish sign. So let's come over here and let's look at our moving averages. We can see this is on the 4-hour chart. We can see that price is consolidating right above. Now, where's our moving average? There we go, so you guys can see them. Price is consolidating right above the 8-day EMA. If we can get a break above this 200-day moving average, guys, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign, and that's not too far off. It's sitting right at about 64.80, somewhere thereabouts. So we can get above the 200-day moving average and consolidate above that. Extremely, extremely bullish, in my opinion. This is on the 4-hour chart. Now let's look at the daily. Looking at the daily, we can see that price is sitting almost right at the 21-day EMA. And as you guys know, I've told you guys for a while, on the daily chart, the 21-day EMA is rather significant. If you're below the 21-day EMA and break above it, that typically, and decisively break above it, I should say, we can see that we broke above it here, but we didn't. It immediately broke right back down. If you can break above it on the daily chart decisively, by decisively, I mean if we can get a daily candle that opens and closes above this 800 or above this 21-day moving average, that's usually signals a shift in momentum. And the opposite is also true. If you're above it and breaks below it, that signals a shift in momentum in favor of the bear. Excuse me. So if we can break above this 200-day, or excuse me, this 21-day EMA on the daily chart here, break above it, start consolidating above it, decisively break above it, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign, guys. So let's wait and see if that ends up happening. As of right now, we're literally sitting almost right on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comments section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. And until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working, signing out.